Hello, Year 10. So today we're going to take a look at inequalities, really similar skill set tomorrow to solving equations, but today I just want to focus on the basics. Some of these might be previous ones you've seen before, which might be good, but it's always good to review them, obviously. At any point, if you need to pause the video, again, please make sure you pause to interpret, to write things down, go at your own pace. I'm going to start off by just going through how do you draw an inequality on a number line. So draw a number line to display this inequality. First off, I just want to read the inequality aloud. It says x is less than negative 1 2/3. So first thing I always do when I draw a number line is I put that number, that value we've been given, somewhere towards the middle, so that way you can see values that are bigger and smaller than it. So if I put that here, negative 1 2/3, thinking about, because I've been given 2/3 as the fraction here, I'm just going to go in increments of thirds. So if I go closer to 0 or towards 0, that would mean getting bigger, and here would be getting smaller. So this would be negative 1 3/3, so that would just be negative 2, negative 2 1/3. And if we go the other direction, this would be negative 1 1/3, and this would be negative 1. Now, if I am less than, notice that there's no or equals to, so hopefully you can remember that means you need to have an open circle to represent that we cannot include that value. We are just less than that value. All of the values that are less than negative 1 2/3 are to the left of it. So therefore, I need to make sure I draw my arrow to the left. Please make sure you put an arrowhead at the end. That would just represent it goes on infinitely in this direction. There are obviously an infinite amount of numbers that satisfy this inequality. Second one here is just an integer. So I have negative 3, same thing. I'm going to put negative 3 towards the middle. And let's go bigger. So negative 2, negative 1, 0. And smaller, negative 4 and negative 5. Putting that circle above the value, the first thing you have to think about, again, do you need to fill it in or do you not need to fill it in? This says x is greater than or equals to. I can include that value, so how we represent that is we shade in the circle. Now, if I'm bigger than or greater than, I'm all the values to the right. Again, don't forget that arrowhead. Here's the one that you're going to do. Take a second to pause the video, and I will go over the solution in a second. Okay, let's see how we did. So first thing you probably did is you drew your number line and you put that value of negative 2/3 in the middle. Negative 2/3. Let's go bigger and smaller than that. So negative 1/3, 0, negative 1, negative 1 1/3. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to put that circle above negative 2/3. Hopefully you did not fill it in because there's no or equals to, and I'm less than. So all of the numbers over here are less than that value. Perfect, so hopefully that's what you did. Let's go to the integer question, negative 4. So if I put negative 4 in the middle, getting bigger, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, getting smaller, negative 5, negative 6. I can include negative 4 because again it says or equals to. I fill it in. And it says x is larger than, so I'm all of these values over here. Perfect. Grab your red pen. Hopefully that's what you did or something similar too. And then let's take a look at this second question. Now this is called a compound inequality. A compound inequality has a beginning and an end point. Notice the last one we just did. It goes infinitely in one direction. So the difference between that and this one, notice there is a starting point and an end point. So when you go to draw this one, it actually will look more like almost like a barbell. It'll be a beginning and an end, and then a middle line to connect them. So this compound inequality starts at 5 and ends at 11. So let's get that number line drawn again. So let's start with this number and keep going. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to draw the endpoints in and represent them with circles. I'm not going to fill in either circle because there is no or equals to, so we cannot actually include 5 and 11 in our values. and I am all the possible values in between, so I need a line to represent that. See how it says x is larger than 5, so you go to the right of 5, but I'm also less than 11, so I go to the left of 11, meaning all of these values in between are what satisfies this inequality. This one's really similar. Let's go again to drawing our number line, starting with -7, -6, -5, 3. Okay, here we go, -2. Now for this one, after you draw your circles, take a look. Can you fill in one of the values? Notice how x is less than or equal to -2. -2 is included in this compound inequality, so I circle it in. And then I represent all the numbers in between by just connecting those two circles. Perfect. Okay, can you please, again, pause whenever you need to, but I need you to try and attempt this one. All right, let's see how you did. Hopefully the first thing you did is you drew that number line starting at -72. So something like this, -72, -71. All right, -65. Harder to squeeze in there, aren't they? Because they're 2-digit numbers. Okay, open circle on -72, cannot include, but I can include -65. So let's circle that puppy in. And then, oh, that was not great of me, was it? Let's fix that a bit. There we go. We are all those numbers in between. So again, you connect them, and bada bing, bada boom. There's your final solution. Let's finish this one. -73. I'd like to point something out that I have not done very well here. These should be technically evenly spaced if I want to be really nitpicky about this, because thinking about it, I want to make sure the increments are going up in the same value, kind of like when you scale a graph, you know how you need to scale it in a linear progression, so going up by the same amount each time. This one's not that greatly spaced. I apologize about that, but again, something just to think about. All right, let's see. So I need to circle this in. Hopefully that's what you did, because it's greater than or equals to. This one also gets filled in because we are less than or equal to, and can be all the values in between. So again, you connect it, and there's your final solution. I'm really, really hopeful you got all of that correct. Here is the last one I just want to talk to you about, is what happens if the opposite happens. So this time I'm given a number line, and I need to draw or represent the inequality displayed. First thing I always do is just check. Sometimes they put, especially on the GCSE, they'll put the variable they want you to use on the end to represent that all of these values represent, say, x, a number x. In this case, they didn't, so I always just use x as kind of like your default variable. So let's put x here. This first one up, I'm noticing the circles filled in, so we can include this value of -80. So let's put -80 here. Am I larger than or smaller than? Well, I'm going to the left where all the smaller values are. So x, I need to write an inequality that says x is less than or equal to -80. Don't forget, this is how I learned it. I'm sure you've learned something similar. The alligator always eats the bigger number, or the crocodile always eats the bigger number. So making sure this opens up towards that. I even like to do this sometimes. Ta-da! So yeah, that's the answer to the first one. Let's take a look at the second one. Okay, this time we have a compound inequality, so let's actually put x in the middle. Beginning value will be -70. The largest value will be -66. X is bigger than -70, but it's less than or equal to, because that circle's filled in, -66. There is my final compound inequality. All right, here's the question I need you to answer on Firefly, so I'll leave you a multiple choice you can fill in. I need your help. So here's that solution that we just did. Can you please find me the correct inequalities that represent these two separate inequalities?